Martin Luther King Drive and Malcolm X Boulevard both debunk the myth of respectability.
We demand justice for Breonna and George. I pray that you rest well. When I was locked, I witnessed the murder right in the next cell. The SEALs beat that brother to death for smuggling Nextels. Killed him while he was cuffed, and I bet that made all their chests well. Elderberries with fresh kale, immune to your viruses that infect males. In tune with the Bible and its possessed spells. Let's go. No need to test hell. We felt the brother's pain. He was suffocated with knee. Now the country's waiting to exhale. I'm even killed, but I've even killed. I demand respect, and I won't leave until I'ma bet on black like I was Stephen Hill, living in them shacks and thinking we should kill. Now they say it's cap, you thinking we should kneel. How they held us back will be a secret still. You don't hear them screeching wheels, you don't hear them shots fired. Firearm I keep concealed, plantation cops hired. They hear the police to fear. American dream, you sleeping if you believe it's real.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special edition of the Splash Cast. I'm your co-host, Reggie.
And I am your thrilled co-host, Norwood.
Yes, sir. So we're here because we have a special episode, man. We couldn't wait till Saturday. We wanted to talk about the reaction and fallout with everything that happened with Jon Gruden and his departure from the Raiders. But before we get to the sad news, not even sad news, before we get to the BS, I want y'all to see Norwood's hat. The only reason I'm wearing a Georgia hat is because I cannot find my Atlanta Braves hat. The Braves won the NLDS. We are going to the National League Championship Series. Norwood, how you feel, man?
Oh my goodness. We weren't supposed to be here. This is the second Atlanta team to turn it around. We turned it around midstream. We beat the Milwaukee Brewers, who we were not supposed to beat. We took one at home at their house. Then we came back to the crib and got them right out of the paint. And especially after the way that the Bucks beat us, I am
got our revenge
to get a little bit of revenge on the town of Milwaukee. Y'all be safe, but don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you.
Or let it hit you. I don't care. Just get the hell out.
Man, and stay out.
Yes, sir. So the Braves, we are now waiting as we are watching the Los Angeles Dodgers play the San Francisco Giants to see who we play. The Giants are up in that series 2-1, but they're down 2-0 in the bottom of the third. Pish posh, whatever. Moving on, man. So we're here. We're here. For those that don't know, got to get my paper ready, man, because we got a lot to talk about real quick.
But before we even get there, can we just address that this is the experience that we live on a regular basis, where even in the moments where we should be right now having a celebratory drink, which we will have. But right now we have to get to the most important thing. Jon Gruden being racist.
So for those that don't know, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was going, you know what? That was unfair to everybody else because he's not just racist. He's also homophobic. He's also misogynistic. And from his work emails, he doesn't understand discretion at all.
Well, let's give a little context. Let's give a background for those that don't. I don't understand, if you watch sports or anything television, if you have a television, you have to know about it. You have to know about it.
If you have a television, if you have an internet, if you know anybody who knows anybody, this has basically been the only thing that they've talked about all day.
Yep. So Jon Gruden is the head coach, and I think he was VP.
Was.
Woo! Jon Gruden was the head coach, and I think VP or general manager of he wasn't general manager. He was the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He took that position in 2018. He signed a 10-year deal worth $100 million after he had led the Raiders in 1998 to 2001, and then became head coach of the Buccaneers in 2002 and won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers by beating, at the time, the Oakland Raiders. He then stepped away, fired, whatever you want to call it, from the Buccaneers and went into television, created a reputation for himself. He had Corona sponsorships. I think he did some broadcasting. He did the quarterback, the NFL draft quarterback chalkboard where they had to explain a play. He did a lot of stuff, man, and he built himself up. Same thing we do in a Splashcast. Built himself up. Then he ended up getting that 10-year, $100 million, what at the time, and still is a revolutionary deal for
boy.
NFL coaches. Revolutionary deal. 10 years, $100 million, $10 million a year plus bonuses and incentives is insane.
Yeah.
Insane. About the time he took the job, the Washington football team, who at the time was called the Washington Redskins, came under fire for
bad and worse.
For everything. Dan Snyder, who is the owner of the Washington Redskins, was caught up in some controversy where they had, I think, a toxic workplace environment. I think 10 to 12 cheerleaders came forward with mistreatment, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct in the workplace, all over. And
wait. Let's not forget, this is all while still having the most racist name in sports.
Right. So they still were the Redskins.
So you're specializing in, and I see that there's a running theme here already. Didn't take us long. Of they're already knocking misogyny and racism out of the park. So birds of a feather
flock together. So yeah, I'm not going to get into the weeds about the Washington football team investigation, but that was the parent or the beginning of the end for Jon Gruden. He just didn't know it yet. So at the time when Jon Gruden was not employed, it's very important that we talk about this, right? Jon Gruden was not a employee of the NFL
at all.
But this is where stupidity comes in. He sent emails from his personal account to an employee, an executive of the Washington football team, to their work account, which then becomes subject to NFL review. When all of this,
who does that? Who does that? Who does that? And who accepts that? Reggie, we are fantastic friends, very close friends. One thing that I am never accepting from you, dog, do not email me from your personal email to my work email. Trash. Delete.
We first off, trash, delete. Norwood, what's my work email? Exactly.
I don't even want to know. I can't do nothing but get in trouble with that email.
For what?
Nothing.
For what?
Nothing.
Don't even need to know. So the fact that he felt comfortable enough, which really I told you this conversation was going to evolve, kind of makes this, and on macro level, makes you look at the entire NFL as a whole. But because the fact that he was comfortable enough to send this off,
they call that hubris. You feel that you're at a point where untouchable. I don't have to worry about these rules, regulations, and it's not even really rules and regulations. It's just simple, regular internet discretion. Don't care at all.
It's baffling how dumb you can get. But in those emails, so when the Washington football team went under investigation, they had to submit some emails as part of the investigation to the NFL. What I can't remember is I think this investigation is part of the federal investigation. It's not just the investigation done by the NFL, because there's lawsuits and everything, which we'll talk about later, because that's going to play heavy into everything else. And I'm going to round it all back in to some other issues that was happening with the NFL. But
one thing that we forgot, the Washington football team currently has a trainer who just had the Fed show up. So what? Nobody is understanding
the fallout that this can have, man.
Yes, and it is having. You can't keep having federal investigations at your job.
Layers. Ooh, that's the name of this. Layers. There's so many layers to this, and we are literally at the very first layer of the onion. We're nowhere near the core of this problem, and it's crazy. But to keep going. The emails that surfaced during the investigation came from the Raiders. The Raiders actually turned over the emails, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No.
Okay.
The NFL investigated. They went through the emails. They found them. Once,
Cool.
and the timeline on this is kind of tricky. I think that somebody was sick of Gruden, because if you see how the emails kind of came out, the first one was about D. Smith, and he referenced
the NFL Players Association, director of the NFL Players Association.
Yes, he referenced his big lips.
Obviously, I mean, he's black, by the way.
Yes.
That's why it's racist.
And then he went into him being dumb. We all know that is the character that is portrayed anytime that you want to insult an African American. It is the quickest and laziest, to me, slight of all. My thing is, if you're going to be insulting, be better, be a little bit more covert. Then he tried to moonwalk that back and say that D. Smith was a liar. So when he said that his lips were like Michelin and rubber, it was because of the lies, which... Number one,
I was like, I've never heard that before in my life.
Never heard an idiom, colloquialism, anything even close to that. And if that's in your typical vernacular, then it should come up in another email somewhere, because I'm sure that you don't think that D. Smith is the only liar, or this only pertains to one subset of liars with a darker skin.
Yep. So when it comes to this, the fact that he said it was racist, and he did try to moonwalk that back. And then more emails came, and turns out that he was misogynistic. It turns out that he was homophobic. When all of that came out is when the owner of the Raiders, Al Davis' son, decided, like, look, man, basically you got to go.
But before we also need to think about Mark Davis. Mark Davis hunted Gruden down. Yes. Hunted Gruden down. I want this guy to be the coach. And not only am I seeking you to come back and be my coach, I'm going to pay you an exorbitant amount because I like you that much. 10 years, $100 million.
I think you're that good. Yep. Friend of the family deal.
Yes. That is definitely, I'm going to take care of a guy who I like and I care about.
Yep.
And it puts me in a tricky situation, because the Raiders have long time been supporters of HBCUs and giving black people a chance just in general. Most notably, all the guys that Al Davis used to pull from HBCUs, and also Art Shell being the head coach. So
100%.
You go from, on one side, this team being progressive and being an ally, to essentially hiring the exact opposite.
Like a 180-degree turn.
Yes.
And the thing about Jon Gruden is, and of course, everybody's going to do it. You know what happens when something bad comes out about somebody. Everybody says, well, I kind of figured that guy was bad. I kind of figured he was wrong. I kind of figured, I knew it. But in this case, there was one telling event that stuck out. At the time, it didn't stick out, but when Norwood, when you came and told me about it, reminded me of it, I was like, hey, that's crazy. It was the Marquette King situation. Tell me about the Marquette King situation, dog, because I don't remember it verbatim like you do.
Absolutely. I want to choose my words here very carefully. I'm not a fan of Jon Gruden. I have always felt like he's had the racist undertones.
I never knew. I always thought he was just overrated.
I always felt that in my spirit. And then once he was hired with the Raiders, you have this guy, Marquette King. He's one of the very few black punters, and he is exceptional at his job. If I remember correctly, he's a 1 or 2 time Pro Bowler. But he's a black punter.
And he was a wild athlete too.
Yes, and he's unapologetically black.
Yep.
And that's not a position where you can do that. Where you can't say that's not a position where you can't do that. It's not normal, but it should be something where you should be able to be black no matter what position you play on the field.
When it comes to black punters, and I only reason I'm jumping in is because I don't want to forget this thought.
Go ahead.
black punters and kickers are what white punters and kickers are what white quarterbacks were back in the day.
Correct.
Black people were said not to be able to play quarterback for whatever reason. Too athletic, can't throw accurately, done whatever. They came up with every reason why. And it was kind of like an untapped position. If you multiply that by 20, that's punters and kickers. You only get, until recently, it was only white people, and then they started getting soccer players. So it was more of the Latin descent, Spanish descent.
You still have a few guys like your Reggie Robies. You have a few of them, but you have to be you have to be exceptional, and you still have to follow all the directions of a kicker in their understanding of what a kicker should look, talk, sound like.
They kept kickers to a certain demographic so bad. It was either soccer, and then they went and got Australian rules football players. They got rugby players.
Yes.
But they only got white rugby players. There's if you ever look at Australian rules football, there's a whole lot of people, whole lot of different races that play. They only get white kickers.
Every shade.
And everybody has to know how to kick.
Yeah.
But they only get white kickers. But that's another story. We're not gonna keep going there. But like you said, Marquette King was so unapologetically black that he stood out. Go back to you. I just wanted to make sure that people understood that.
And he wasn't wild. It wasn't like he was punching people in the face. He was just being himself. And Gruden fires a man before he meets him. First thing first of all, no coach, when you get hired, the first thing you do is say, let me fire the punter.
The punter.
That is way
everything else that was wrong with that team.
I got to get this guy to here first. Why? Because he's being himself and he's comfortable in his own skin.
And the excuse he probably came up with, and I'm almost purely speculating. Yes, I'm piling on, but I'm purely speculating. When he said it's probably something like, we're trying to change the culture around here.
Exactly. It was immaturity and conduct.
Mm-hmm.
We know what that's code word for. You're a little too black for me.
Too black for me. We are trying to attract a different type of crowd.
Yes. And that immediately sent my spider senses into overdrive. And I have secretly number one, I knew he was never going to return investment on $100 million over 10 years.
Not with that team.
That
was a
not with that
play.
Not with that team. Not with that coach. He ain't $100 million coach on no planet in no multiverse. Period. It's not there. He's just not it. It's an overpay. Yeah. And you'll be lucky to get one championship and pay $100 million. So it's just
it was a setup contract. They were trying to set up the franchise.
Oh, it's nepotism.
Yeah, 100%. So the crazy thing about this is the timing that all of this came out. And I know y'all are probably saying, oh, the timing. Yes, the timing because of the Washington football team's investigation is crazy. It's clearly that they threw him under the bus. But that's not the timing we're talking about. We're going to get back to that.
Oh, no.
Oh, the timing we're talking about is the controversial Netflix Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy that was just released and subsequently pulled from Netflix and then put back on Netflix or whatever. It's they
attempted to have it pulled, but it was never pulled. And for anybody who hasn't watched it yet, please take the time. It's called The Closer. He also closed out, looks like, Jon Gruden's career. So this all works out very well for me.
Why is this funny about the timing? Because one of his jokes, he said, you can offend a black man or a black woman or an entire race of African Americans, and you'll get a slap on the wrist. But if you offend the LGBTQNA community, that's when things move. That's when changes happen. That was a controversial joke. That's what caused everything. Go ahead.
This is the most frustrating part about being African American, is you have to see the comedy play out right before your eyes. You have to you laugh, but it's not like a comforting laugh. It's just this is the way life is. And
Yeah, it's like those laughs you would get from your grandma when she'd be like, "You ain't lying, you ain't lying." That's the "you ain't lying" laugh.
yes,
You know, you tell it like it is. Tell it like it is.
It's unfortunate, but it's a bad situation. What do we do with bad situations? We laugh at them. Mm-hmm. The reason that this is so well, like the comedic timing of the way that karma works is impeccable. Mm-hmm. Is originally they came out with the first email and it was about D. Smith. Talked about his large lips, called him dumb. They interviewed every black person who had ever been involved with Jon Gruden, ever. Tony Dungy said, I don't think he's a bad man. Tim Brown was like, he's never made me feel inferior, yada, yada, yada. All of this. Everybody's
clean up aisle 4.
Yes. And everybody was, this is 10 years ago. Let's not get upset. Let's move past this. We all make mistakes. For black people. We got to get over it. Build a bridge, get over it.
Yep.
But then suddenly there were these emails disrespecting Roger Goodell. There were emails that were extremely misogynistic. There were emails that were extremely homophobic. And
had slurs and everything.
Yes. And then suddenly this thing kind of turns on his head immediately. Now he has to go.
And it is not like it turned on his head like
immediately
4 or 5 days. It happened within hours.
Yes.
The story broke last night.
Black offensive emails. We'll get past it. Everybody else? Oh, no. Let me tell you.
What should I say?
Yeah. But because it is literally anybody else. It is just one subset of humans that has to, literally just get over it. Hey, and why, this is something that's been on my mind. Why do people who do racist things, why is their first line, I don't have a racist bone in my body? Well, we got the proof right here. Your emails say otherwise.
And it was only 250 emails. That's the part we didn't say. There's 650,000 emails. They only released 250.
Imagine, you are really getting it in, my friend, to have. Think about how many emails you send in a career at work. I don't have
650,000. But that's also all the emails from every employee of the Washington football team, and that's how these were resurfaced.
But he is spending a lot of his time being misogynistic, homophobic, and racist. And at the same time, you have a gay player on your team. Y'all got a picture before the game. You're embracing him.
Boy, you look fake. He said the Rams. Well, I ain't gonna say what he said, but he said the Rams
don't.
Draft
we do have a podcast.
But man, he said a lot of stuff. But without belaboring what he did, what I really wanted to talk about was the fallout. Like, what does this mean for the Raiders? Like, they've lost who they got to go get a coach. Like, and they're
no, they don't have to go get a coach. They're actually going to promote the assistant head coach, his longtime, some say best friend, Rich Bisaccia. Rich Bisaccia is 61 years old. He's currently in his 20th season with the NFL as a special teams coach. His coaching career began in 2002 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under who? Jon
Gruden.
And he stayed from 2002 to 2010. Then he had a brief stint with the Chargers from 2011 to 2012. He was the Cowboys for 4 years. Watch out, Jerry Jones, your email's next. And then he ended right back up with who? His best friend, Jon Gruden. I'm not sure if you want to hire the racist, misogynistic, homophobic person's best friend, because if you're willing to send emails like that to your friends, you can only imagine what they talk about.
He may be a little smarter though, unless his name comes up.
Well, there's a difference between being smarter and being less racist. He may be a little bit more tactful, but as we've already said, birds of a feather
flock together.
They're gonna be right there.
So what does this mean? So what does this mean? We got what it means for the Raiders. They got to find a new coach that can promote his best friend. To me, they gotta. They're gonna do the NFL cleanup. They're gonna hire a minority.
Oh yeah,
they're about
they're gonna black that thing up, boy. it's gonna go from silver and black to just all black.
I will say they moved just in time, because if this came out while they were in Oakland,
I agree, but I mean, wherever you are specializing in racism, misogyny, and homophobia is a bad look, especially when the NFL is trying its damnedest to push everything else. I don't know if you watched the Monday night game, but that is one of their pillars that they've been leaning on, is acceptance,
inclusion, diversity, and inclusion.
Yes, across all spaces. As a person who watched that game, they have plenty of commercials about LGBTQ involvement, minorities. They're doing their absolute best to attract those demographics. I'm not sure if they're 100% into actually changing anything or making anything better, but they are marketing to them. So
I don't believe the NFL is ever really into changing anything and making anything better.
Oh, me either. I just think they just want to be socially acceptable.
I think they do what's socially acceptable at the time.
Absolutely. That's the reason you have Dr. Dre performing at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they have a history of doing the wrong thing. I mean, I will say, I don't know if Jon Gruden stepped down, and that was more of a Raiders thing more than an NFL thing. But we talked about it. I think Jon Gruden is being the sacrificial lamb for the Washington football team's 650,000 emails. I think that, to me, I guess the next question I got on the agenda is, what does that mean for his colleagues, for other coaches, for other GMs, for other presidents, for other front office people, for other owners? Like, what does that mean for them? Because I think this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Now, number one, I think Dan Snyder is probably feeding this all to the NFL. Because there aren't that many teams that have these type of troubles. It's your boy in Jacksonville, Chidi Pablo. And it was the Washington football team until a few days ago. Now the Raiders have a whole image problem, and Urban Meyer has to be somewhere in a bar with another young lady. Yes. He's in there with a new woman who is not his wife, because his wife is at home being a saint, taking care of the grandkids. She probably baking cookies, washing clothes, folding clothes, and putting them to bed. And Urban is somewhere drinking and celebrating with some other woman, talking about, whoo, I'm out of there at least for a couple of days.
Yeah, it's wild to me. The NFL Players Association has requested the release of the rest of the 650,000 emails. As of now, I'm pretty sure the NFL is like, no. But
no, it's not a pretty sure. They have denied that they are not. They have said that they are not releasing all the emails. I do think that the Players Association might have a dog in the fight here. Specifically,
100%, because it's a federal. I don't know if it's federal, but there's a criminal investigation of sexual assault here that then can be linked to how the players were treated in the atmosphere or in the environment that the team created.
Yeah, you already have an atmosphere that is adverse to one group, and it seems like they're not they're pretty good at covering all bases here. And on just on the fact that 70% of the league is African American, and you have at least two teams. No, I guess you would only have one team because the Raiders aren't really in cahoots. But you've had at least two different teams that have had employees that have done some nefarious things via email. Yeah, you have to at least open it up to see, like, all right, well, the toothpaste is out now. We gotta look. We gotta see what else.
So that was the point I brought, that these 250 emails, I think, are just a start. I keep saying it's just a starter, because I think they found that one email from Gruden, and they were like, it's kind of like when you get audited. If they find nothing in the first 10, 20 pages, and you have 50 pages to read, more than likely they're not going to find 10 something in the other 30 pages, because you're on top of everything. But if they find something in page 2 and it's just egregious, you're like, all right, now I got to look at all 48 other pages of this audit. Same thing. I found something in email number 2, because remember, they didn't turn over all the emails at first. They only turned over some emails, and then they were like, all right, we got to turn them all over. The Raiders, when I say the Raiders, to turn all those emails over. So
it's kind of like when you have a string and you pull that thread and then it starts loosening it up, and then you're like, oh boy.
Yeah. And to me, like I said, this is really a subset of, or a subcategory of, the Washington football team investigation, the Jon Gruden thing. He's just the first domino to fall. How it gets tricky is, what does it do for the owners? Because you can't tell me, if out of 32 owners that nobody, and Jon Gruden is implicated, that there's no other owners implicated. No other owners have said anything. Jerry Jones, and I'm not saying Jerry Jones did anything. I don't want to say that, but Jerry Jones, in the email, his email got hacked, and he was out there with a suit jacket on and no pants on, with a young lady.
Jerry Jones was getting photographed, so I don't think that Jerry cares. But
well, it depends on what comes out.
Yeah,
I don't think he cares about if he's caught with young women. When I say young women, I mean women of age, but way younger than Jerry. But like, I don't think he cares about that. I don't think any older people
not at all
that are into that lifestyle.
Yeah,
but I do think
it's
the bottom line.
It's two things right now. It's a lot of folks like, whoo, I hope they don't read my email. And it's a lot of guys who got to go home like, boy, I hope my wife don't ask me no questions. And
it's a lot of people, man. It's a lot of folks. The intern right now that is trying to get on with one of these teams is acting like he's part of Enron. Man, destroying a lot of stuff.
Or is he looking for his next opportunity? Like, oh, well, I can be a whistleblower. Imagine if you're a black intern. Oh, y'all want to know where the bodies are buried? I will tell you, right? Hey, go around in the back, everything, bro. It's somebody who knows where everything is over there.
And this is the point that I referenced this point earlier, and I said I was going to bring it back. The reason that I think this is just the tip of the iceberg is because you're now going back, because remember, Jon Gruden, we said a lot of these emails came when he was not a member of the National Football League. He was not an employee or affiliated with it directly. He was more of a commentator and basically like a private contractor.
But you know how I work for ESPN, or I'm a broadcaster. All of those, they're all independent on each other, so they're all interwoven together.
Yeah. But there was another large controversy that happened almost a decade ago, about half a decade ago, 5-6 years ago. It was Colin Kaepernick when he knelt for the anthem, and how that started a whole controversy that pretty much divided the country. And you had politicians talking about it, owners talking about it. Well, all of those, I'm sure there's some correspondence in those emails about Cap. I'm sure there's some correspondence in those emails that talk about when Cap was proved, because collusion. We were talking with somebody earlier today. Collusion is very difficult to prove, but with all of these emails, you may be able to prove that there was collusion to keep Colin Kaepernick out of the league, even though he was one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league at the time on a top tier team that had just went to the Super Bowl. And you literally blackballed him out of the NFL because he knelt and stood. He proverbially knelt and stood for something at the same time that you didn't agree with. That's where it gets tricky.
I think that is the part that's probably their saving grace. I think that they understand that if all the emails come out, you'll have to have all black owners then.
Boy, you talk about Thanos. Emails come
boy say a snap and half of the NFL ownership will be gone.
Boy, they would get him. I would get everybody out of there. I keep glancing up because I'm watching the Giants versus the Dodgers. Because that's who the Braves got to play. JC didn't know. We said it earlier. The Braves won the National League Divisional Series against the Brewers. But this entire Jon Gruden breaking news. We just felt like we had to talk about it now. We couldn't wait till Saturday because that would have made the episode 11 hours because there's going to be so much more that comes out between now and Saturday.
Absolutely.
Did we forget anything, Noah? Is there something that we forgot, or is there something that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I think we covered Jon Gruden's specialization in racism, misogyny, and homophobia. I think we covered all the bases, but just in case anybody didn't hear me, all the emails are racist, homophobic, and misogynistic. He checks all boxes. He is an equal opportunity disrespecter. I guess the only people that I was going to say he leaves white males off, but boy, no, from what he said
he called Goodell.
I was about to say.
Goodell got the second bullet.
Roger Goodell caught that chopper too. Pow, 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 pow. And
D. Smith got the first one. Goodell got the snipe.
This is the thing now, before we get out of here, is they're going to see each other again.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's going to see each other again. Goodell, Gruden, and D. Smith.
I think Gruden is going to stay away from D. Smith. But Goodell is a person who you can't avoid unless you avoid the NFL. And
this is the end of Jon Gruden. We're actually that's what we forgot.
Fallout. I feel like he'd be right next to Sean Hannity right there on Fox News.
Or OWN network, OAN, whatever it is. One American Network.
OAN, yes. Not OWN, OWN. We do not want to put Oprah in this at all.
Yeah, not Oprah. We talking about One American Network.
Yes, we got to be very clear. We don't want Oprah to be confused with, once again, just in case y'all didn't hear, the racists, the misogynists, and the homophobic people. We do not, Oprah, you're above board with us.
But the reason I say that this could be his last job,
should,
I'm telling you, could be his last job. This is a PR nightmare for anything that he's touched. He now goes from sugar to shit, from gold to poison. So the first one fallout, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are moving him for the Ring of Honor.
And I don't want to stay on this too long, but all those people who bumped for him and said he would never say that, I think that they should be sent the emails, and I want to hear a
live reaction.
Yes, I want you to react now that you've seen all the emails and all the things that he said, that you said that he could never say, and now that they've confirmed that he did in fact say them, you need to hop back out there.
What are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts? If you had this and you want to bumpity bump for this man, before, now that we have we don't have all the facts. We may never get all the facts, but now that we have more facts, please tell us how you feel.
Let us know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our special episode. This isn't episode 27 because 27 part 1 is already out. 27 part 2 will be out on Thursday. Splashcast 12 pack comes out tomorrow. So we'll just call this special episode Breaking News, Jon Gruden, whatever. Norwood, If you don't have anything else, man, take us out.
You could have been anywhere else in the world. Typically, we would have loved to talk about basically anything else. We would have loved to talk about the Braves going to the National League Championship, but instead we have to talk about racist, homophobic, misogynistic Jon Gruden. I will say that quite a few people reached out to us. It was something that there was no way that we weren't going to cover. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you guys for reaching out. Thank you guys for listening.
Hopefully this will be out between Wednesday and Friday.
Yes,
one of those days.
Yes, when you do hear this, pass this on to a friend. We love you.
Remember to rate.
Yeah, we got to say something nice, man. I feel like this been, we like to come in here and have fun and enjoy ourselves and do a little kikiing and celebrating our Atlanta Braves turning the season around. But this is a heavier episode. I do want to make sure that at the end of the day, man, this is why we podcast. We want to make sure we get reviews and opinions about these things out. And like Reggie said, please rate, subscribe, tell a friend, pass the playlist on to your best friend, pass your playlist on to your grandmother. I got them hot 5 tunes for her too. You could have been anywhere else in the world. You came and kicked it with me and Reggie. We are eternally grateful. And of course, hang out. We out of here. Adios, mi amigos.
Peace.
Swear to God, never thought I'd see the end. All my life in the fight, I never ran. Oh my God, I'm the motherfucking man. They killed another black boy. His body on the street side. His mama on the TV crying. Where were you, Black Jesus? She was in the kitchen cooking up. He was rapping, stacking in the car. Baby boy ran out of love. Found a lion cut to call it blood. Should've ran, but you thought you were a man. Rattlesnakes in the sand. This shit wasn't in the plan. Nah, now your baby gone. Took and left him on his own. They stole her mama's joy. We lost another black boy. I'd be lying if I say I'm not the man. Swear to God, never thought I'd see the end. All my life in the fight, I never ran. Oh my God, I'm the motherfucking man.